people will pack the Otso Stadium. We look forward to what we hope will be a classic confrontation. Well, at number 1 in the field this evening, the man who comes to Otso to hopefully regain his crown. That's of course from Denmark, Hans Nielsen. Rides for Oxford in the Sunbright League. At number 2 from Italy, the chirpy character of Armando Castagna. He appeared here also back in 1985 when the championship was last staged here. At number 3 from Hungary, Zoltan Adorian. He appeared recently on your screens in the World Pairs final, where along with his partner Sandor Tahini done very, very respectively in that particular round, where they finished 3rd place on the rostrum. At number 4, a young rider making his debut in the World Final, Martin Dugard. Races for the Oxford Cheetahs in the Sunbright League. Martin looking very, very nervous indeed. We wish him well in this particular event. Roman Matusek, Roman Cowboy Matusek from Czechoslovakia. Appears in the ice racing scene during the winters. A little bit of a dark horse in these championships, and no doubt a spoiler in the pack. Here we see the man, number 6 from Australia, Todd Wiltshire, 21 years of age, also making his debut in the sport's prestigious event from Bankstown, New South Wales in Australia. Todd setting the world alight in 1990. At number 7 from America, USA, Bellflower to be precise, 23-year-old Ronnie Corey, rides for Wolverhampton in the Sunbright League, made his debut last year in Munich, now makes his 2nd appearance in the sport's top event. And there we see at number 8, Rick Miller, also from the US of A, one of the most respected and chirpy characters in the Sunbright League, where he races for Coventry Bees. Making his debut in the championship, no doubt looking forward to what lies ahead. At number 9 from Sweden, making his 3rd appearance in the World Final, Per Jonsson. Per comes from Stockholm, races for Reading in the Sunbright League. Number 10 is Zednik Tassar, also making his debut in the event, Ostrava from Czechoslovakia, 26 years of age, and no doubt I should imagine Zednik will be just pleased if he can get amongst the points this evening. At number 11, I know all the fans in England will be wishing this fellow well, the oldest man in the field, 31 years of age, Richard Knight. Comes and royally races of course in England for Kings Lynn Stars, and very, very happy man indeed just to be here. Number 12 from Sweden, Jimmy Nilsson, Stockholm, making his 3rd appearance in the World Final. 4th in 86, 4th in 87, and here he is again in Bradford in 1990. Number 13, one of the most respected characters making his progress in World Speedway, that's Henrik Gustafsson from Sweden. Yet to come across the North Sea to race in England, but no doubt he will set the pace in this World Final, as we know he is capable of. At number 14 from Czechoslovakia, Tony Kasper, 27 years of age, making his 4th World Final appearance from Prague, and no doubt another rider that will be desperately hoping just to get amongst the points. At number 15, well, one of the pre-meeting favourites, that's Sean Moran from the US of A. Rides for Bellevue in the Sunbright League, 28 years of age, 3rd World Final appearance for Sean. And last but by no means least, England's great hope for a world champion from the Coventry Bees, 26-year-old Calvin Tatum, born in Epsom, making his 5th World Final appearance. That's the 16 competitors for this particular World Final. Now the 2 reserves. At number 17, from the tiny island of Gotland, Dennis Lufquist, 24 years of age. Races for Kings Lynn also in the Sunbright League. And at number 18 from Hungary is Sandor Tahini, 27 years of age, 2nd World Final. Debrecen in Hungary is the place he comes from. You'll have to wait to see if he can get a ride in this particular event. So there we see Hans Nielsen with the Danish flag behind him. He of course is the man who comes to Oslo to defend that crown, having gained it at the Olympic Stadium in Munich back in 1989. There we see him receiving that trophy in the meeting that will best be remembered for the presentations and the atmosphere more than the racing. Hans Nielsen, 3 times world champion, 86 in Katowice, Poland.
I think it's important to have won a world final before. I think the first one is the most difficult to win. And once you tried it, you know what it's like and you know what to do. And as you say, I'm the only one who's had won a world final in the lineup this year. So I think that's going to be an important psychological boost for me.
Well, you've got to look at Hans Nielsen. Everybody said, oh, Hans has dropped points this year and all that, but somebody was telling me Hans had 29 meetings in 31 days. And I think the last couple of years he's kept this very high level. And I think it's very difficult to stay there. And I know in my own career that I'd let myself drop off at league times and getting towards a world final and try to pick myself up because it's so difficult to give your best all the time. Yeah. And I think, you know, on the night, Hans is going to be there.
Making a start is all about having as much drive on the back wheel without the front wheel lifting too much. I mean, the ideal start is the front wheel just about 2 inches off the ground. So you want to go out up to the start, see how grip it is there, and try and sort of do a practice start somewhere else where it's similar. So yeah, I suppose you have a certain procedure, yeah.
And the way he's doing things is very special, you know. And I know in a world final you can't approach Hans because he's in himself. He's so concentrated on the job he's got to do, winning that world championship. He's a personality in himself, you know, and you've got to be that to win a world final.
I mean, a world final is something special. I mean, there's a lot of people out there, and if you win the world title, you can, you know, go out and get some good meetings the following year, get good sponsors, and I think, well, obviously you get more nervous. You think about more about the meeting, and therefore you get more nervous. You have to be nervous, I think, to set yourself up to win a world final. I don't think it's possible really to go out and set yourself up that way for ordinary league meetings and open meetings and things. Although, of course, you want to win them as well. But I think it just takes too much out of you if you do set yourself up in that way for every meeting. I mean, after a world final, you're just totally drained because you're that much set up for the meeting. And when it's all over, you sort of sit down and almost collapse. You have plenty of grip on the outside down the first corner. Yes, it is possible to overtake everybody, especially on the first corner, because everybody's sort of traveling almost the same speed. And if it is slick on the inside, and you know 3 guys dive for the inside, then yes, it is possible to pass on the outside, I suppose. But it does mean that you have to have a nicely prepared track with plenty of grip.
He's a lot of experience now. As I say, he's a very dedicated rider, professional, and he has very good equipment. And this added together makes a winning formula.
So there are the last views of the last English world champion, Michael Lee, as we now get underway with the first heat of the 1990 World Individual Speedway Final at Otso Stadium in Bradford. And there we see the man they all want to beat, Hans Nielsen in red. Armando Castagna there in blue with a few points to prove in this particular final. And then in white is Zoltan Adorian from Hungary. And in yellow and black, Martin Dugard from England. So the atmosphere, all the pre-meeting forecasts, all now go out the window as we wait to see the tapes rise on this 45th staging of the sport's most prestigious event. So the lineup there, as you see across the gate, Hans Nielsen in red, Armando Castagna is in blue, Zoltan Adorian white, and Martin Dugard in yellow and black. As we just wait for this referee, Mr. Van den Bomen from Holland, to bring the riders into the start to get this meeting underway. Track record at Otso Stadium, 58.8, held by Hans Nielsen, of course the world champion. We'll just have to wait to see if that will be broken throughout the course of proceedings here at Otso. Well, as always, pre-meeting nerves get the grips of several of these riders. They all desperately want to get 3 points in that first particular heat, as they go in and do their traditional gardening at the start to get the most amount of traction as they drive from the start. The starting marshal now getting a little bit anxious as the riders come in to the start. Nielsen on the inside, Castagna gate 2, Adorian gate 3, and Martin Dugard gate 4, and the green light's now on. And the 1990 World Final gets underway as they drive from the start, and it's Hans Nielsen who hits the first bend in front. Nielsen front, Martin Dugard second, and we've lost Castagna, who's a faller. Amanda Castagna is down on the track. So it's Nielsen in first place, Dugard second, Zoltan Adorian in third. So 3 riders only, with Castagna now out of contention, but my word, Hans Nielsen really flew from the start as the tapes rose. And with 2 laps gone, he's setting the pace. Dugard tucked in behind him, and although he's going to drop a point, I'm sure he'll be pleased with this. A great way to start in your debut World Final with 2 points. Nielsen in red, Dugard in yellow, and Dorian back in white in 3rd place. But certainly Hans Nielsen is going around the final 2 bends, looking sure of 3 points. With Bradford signaling 3 points for Hans Nielsen, and he takes the checker flag. 2 points for Martin Dugard in 2nd place, and 1 for Zoltan Nadorian back in 3rd. So the man they've all got to beat if they want to relinquish his crown is Hans Nielsen. But in his first race in heat number 1, he gets to the checker flag in pole position. And let's just have a look at those 2 bends again and see what happens to Amanda Castagna, who slides down, just clipped by Zoltan Nadorian. So Amanda Castagna loses points in the very first heat. So heat number 2, which brings together Roman Matusek in red, Ronnie Corrie in blue, Todd Wiltshire white, and Rick Miller in yellow and black. The 2 riders on the outside, Todd Wiltshire and Rick Miller, both making their debuts in this event. Roman Matusek has done all this before, and Ronnie Corrie achieved that feat in Munich in 1989. So heat number 2, with Hans Nielsen setting the pace with a good time of 59.7 in heat number 1. And let's see what it is who gets to the first turn in 1st place in heat number 2. Starting marshal calling them in. He's now made his last move to Roman Matusek, who's the last one to set up. The green light now goes on, and the riders roar from the start, and who's going to be the first one to show? It's Todd Wiltshire in white, Rick Miller in yellow-black trying to come around the outside, but it's Todd Wiltshire who holds on down the back straight. Todd Wiltshire from Australia, Rick Miller from the USA. In 3rd place is Ronnie Corrie in blue from the USA as well, but more word, all eyes are on Todd Wiltshire. Speedy Todd, as he's known down in running in parts where he races in the Sunbright League. In his debut World Final, as well as Rick Miller in 2nd place, and they're doing very, very well indeed. Wiltshire, oh my word, Rick Miller lifts and drifts out terribly wide, which gives the initiative to Todd Wiltshire now. All of a sudden, this Roman Matusek comes through to 3rd place. Still Todd Wiltshire in 1st place. 2nd, Rick Miller. Roman Matusek come through on Ronnie Corrie. But is it going to be 3 points for Todd Wiltshire? It is indeed. It's Wiltshire that wins. 2nd place, Rick Miller. 3rd place for Roman Matusek. But what a great way for Speedy Todd to start his debut World Final. To get 3 points in heat number 2, 2 points to Rick Miller, and 1 point to Roman Matusek. But it's Todd Wiltshire who wins the battle of this nerves as we see the start again, and it's Wiltshire in gate number 3 who drives into the first turn. Rick Miller tries to get round the outside of him, but it's Wiltshire who holds on to get the 3 points in heat number 2. Well, Neil Evans is with Todd Wiltshire. There we see Todd Wiltshire making his debut course. Here's the players following as well. Todd Wiltshire launching for Australia. My word, what a debut started with. 3 points in heat number 2. Ron Shaw taking the checker flag ahead of Jano Peterson. This time with his partner yellow to blue is Todd Wiltshire, the yellow black up against Mark Lauren. This is in the overseas final, just looking at switching positions down the back. So he drives underneath Mark Lauren and gets the right. Just look at the confidence in this young 21-year-old from Bankstown in Australia. Setting the world alight, of course, in the Sunbright League with Reading. In his debut World Final.
Well, you know, obviously I'd like to see myself in, but, you know, I mean, I've got nothing to lose in the World Final, you know. Obviously the main contenders who are the Danes at the moment, and the Swedes are going very, very well, but I've got nothing to lose, and if I can put 5 good starts together, well, I'm well on my way.
I saw Todd Wiltshire race for the first time in the Commonwealth final, and he strikes me as a very cool customer.
Very cool customer, very good from the starts, very good first turns. A lot of people had the doubts about Todd, and I must admit a couple of years ago I wasn't really sure myself. I thought he lacked a little bit of iron, but he's proved to everybody this year that he's come on.
The Bradford track is normally very grippy with quite fierce material. I mean, how does it suit you?
Well, I think that would be very good if they could make it grippy, and it's quite a big track. If my fitness is 100% by then, I shouldn't have any problems. It's much similar to my home track in Newcastle in New South Wales, and it's been very choppy and very grippy the last few years I've been back home, and I've seemed to handle it quite good. So if it's grippy, I'll welcome it. It will be good fun.
So you will thank you, Rick Miller.
So back then to the 1990 World Final, and heat number 3 is next on the agenda. And this features 2 of the top Swedes in this particular final, Jimmy Nilsson and Per Jonsson. And throw in Zdeněk Tesar and Richard Knight, who are both making their debut. We're in for a real battle as the tapes rise on heat number 3. Richard Knight, of course, born in Cambridge, making his debut in this event, and I'm sure everybody in England will wish this fella, the oldest competitor in the field, the best of fortune. Came to the back door through the loss of Simon Cross in the World Championships, but no doubt he'll be looking for a good result in heat number 3. So the full lineup is Zdeněk Tesar, red from Czechoslovakia. In blue, Richard Knight from England. In white, Per Jonsson from Sweden. And in yellow and black on the outside in gate number 4, also from Sweden, is Jimmy Nilsson. Starting marshal now calling them in. The last 2 riders are Tesar and Jimmy Nilsson to settle. He's now happy. The green light goes on. The bike's red, and away they drive from the start. And who's got the drop? It's Jimmy Nilsson. The drop's on Jonsson in the first turn. Jimmy Nilsson first, Per Jonsson second. Richard Knight back in 3rd place. For my word, it was Jimmy Nilsson who carved across the pack sweetly on the first turn. Chopped Jonsson as they entered, and now has a good lead over his fellow countryman. Jimmy Nilsson, of course, 23 years of age, his 3rd World Final appearance. Sadly, injury took his toll in 1988. There he's got the victory picture that's gone on his fellow countryman Per Jonsson. They've grown up together in Stockholm, raced together for so many years, and now it's on the track in the World Final where the business is all going to be contested. One more lap to go. Jimmy Nilsson holds on. Per Jonsson 2nd place. Nilsson down the back straight for the final time. Jonsson there is come up very, very close indeed, trying the outside line. Jimmy Nilsson in yellow. Jonsson switches back and makes a drive in the line. And it's Jonsson who gets there. Per Jonsson in white on the last turn, chops back underneath Jimmy Nilsson. Gets to the checker flag in 1st place. Jimmy Nilsson is in 2nd place. Richard Knight 3rd, and my word, what a race. What a race from the back as Per Jonsson gets to 3 points. Jimmy Nilsson gets 2. Let's just see the last turn again. Jimmy Nilsson in good position at the moment. Per Jonsson comes round the outside of him. Nilsson it is who's in 2 minds what to do, and Jonsson jumps back on the inside. It's getting a race there as they come out to get to the flag. It's Jonsson who wins. Jimmy Nilsson is in 2nd place, and Richard Knight back in 3rd. So there we see Per Jonsson, the winner of that race, born on the 21st of March 1966 from Sweden, born in Stockholm, 3 World Final appearances, and what a great competitor he is. Many people know he's got the ability on the Speedway machine, but sometimes he knows himself he's a moody rider.
The title tonight.
Per Jonsson. This is in a test match in Gothenburg where he's captain of his national team. And in red on gate number 1 here, you'll see Jonsson's technique in the starting gate, and away he drives with graceful ease. This time holding up the challenge of the world champion is Per Jonsson, who goes on to win this particular race. So join us for more World Final after the break. So welcome back to the 1990 World Individual Speedway Final from Bradford Zolzel Stadium. Heat number 4 is the next one on the agenda. And there we see American Sean Moran, number 15 on his back. He will go into gate number 1 in the red helmet colour. Sean, of course, who races for Bellevue in the Sunbright League. The full lineup: Sean Moran red, Tony Kasper blue from Czechoslovakia gate 2, Calvin Tatum, England's great hope, in white goes into gate number 3, and the youngest man in the field, 20-year-old Henrik Gustafsson from Sweden in yellow black gate number 4. So this is heat number 4. As the green light goes on,
And away they drive from the start. Who's going to get the drop? It is Sean Moran, Calvin Tatum in that order. And just look at Henrik Gustafsson as well. Tatum in white, Gustafsson in yellow. Drives round the pack on the first and second turn. And it's Henrik Gustafsson from Kumla in Sweden with one lap gone who heads the pack. Calvin Tatum second in white. Sean Moran in third place in red. But my word, we were all watching Calvin Tatum and Sean Moran, but it was Gustafsson who drove round the pack on the second turn. Chicky Bits, who sponsor him in Sweden, will no doubt be pleased with that magical moment. He got the grip on the outside line and just drove round the pack. So it is Henrik Gustafsson who is coming up. Still Calvin Tatum in second place. Can Calvin Tatum make up any more ground? It's very, very close. Gustafsson round the final two turns. Calvin Tatum with the last ditch effort, he's not going to do it. It's Gustafsson who wins. Calvin Tatum in second place. Sean Moran gets the 1 point for third place. But look at that young fella, 20 years of age, just 2 weeks ago. Henrik Gustafsson, who gets the 3 points from heat number 4. 2 points to Calvin Tatum and 1 for Sean Moran. And let's look at the start again. It was Tatum who made the start with Sean Moran. This point, and it was just Moran, but now Tatum takes up the challenge, and all of a sudden from nowhere it's Henrik Gustafsson sat on that back wheel, gets initiative, gets the drive he requires, and goes round from third to first on the first two turns of heat number 4. So the crowd looking composed and pleased with the action so far. 28,000 in at Altsal Stadium. Sadly, due to the Taylor report, the attendance is limited to that. This massive arena holds 104,000 for a rugby league match back in 1954. But just 28,000 packed in this arena, witnessing what we hope will be a great war. Meet number 5 is next. Henrik Gustafsson, 2 on the trot. He goes into gate number 1 in red. Hans Nielsen, winner of heat number 1 in blue. Gate 2, Roman Matusek. Gate 3 in white. Per Jonsson, winner last time out in yellow and black, going into gate number 4. This is heat number 5. Takes rise and away they drive first turn, and it's Gustafsson. He gets another good start from gate number 1. Gustafsson and Nielsen, and just look at Jonsson. Jonsson drives round them just as Gustafsson did in the previous heat. So Hans Nielsen is back in third place at the moment. Jonsson leads, Gustafsson second, Hans Nielsen third. But my word, it was Jonsson who done just what Gustafsson done one race previous. Gustafsson holding on to second place, and Hans Nielsen looking to drop his first points in this World Championship final. Jonsson still first and looking pretty safe at the moment. Gustafsson second, Hans Nielsen third in that order. My word, he's looking so smooth, so competitive is Jonsson. And are we into the first major shocks of 1990 with Hans Nielsen dropping points here in heat number 5. And it's going to be Jonsson who gets the second flag. Second place is Henrik Gustafsson. In third place is Hans Nielsen. The crowd erupting not only with Hans Nielsen dropping points, but this young fella who gets his second race win of the championship. Per Jonsson from Sweden gets 3 points. Henrik Gustafsson from Sweden gets 2, and Hans Nielsen from Denmark gets 1 point. And that's the result of heat number 5. Well, he must be pretty happy with proceeding. Per Jonsson, 2 wins, starting the championship. And let's just have another look as the tapes rise on heat number 5, and it's Gustafsson who has the drop. Oh my word, and Hans Nielsen and Matusek touch as they drive into the first turn. But it was Jonsson who drove round the pack and goes on to take the 3 points on heat number 5. And just look at the Swedish contingent, all faces painted. They must be pretty pleased with life at the moment. Heat number 6, Tony Kasper red, Zdeněk Tesar blue, both from Czechoslovakia. Amanda Castagna, Fowler first time out in white gate 3, and Todd Wiltshire, Australia winner last time out in yellow and black in gate number 4. So Tony Kasper in red and Zdeněk Tesar, both from Czechoslovakia. They'll be desperately need to get amongst the points, and it will be all eyes, I would think, on Amanda Castagna and Todd Wiltshire in the outside gates, who are the most experienced rivals in this particular race. Casper more experienced, of course, than Todd Wiltshire, but at the moment in time, it's Wiltshire who's got so much experience in the last 6 months, it's just untrue. So the starting marshal now is having the green light, as you see, goes on. And the tape's held for a long time, but away they drive, and it's Todd Wiltshire and Castagna who hit the first turn. Todd Wiltshire in yellow and black in pole position, Castagna in second place in white, as we feared it would be. Casper in third place in red at the moment, and Todd's Todd at the back with 1 lap gone, and Speedy Todd is doing the viz yet again. In those engine tuned by good old Peter Johns on the outskirts of London, in those familiar PD leathers. And already he's looking pretty good in his debut World Final. Castagna managing to hold on and stay on, shall we say, to his machine. In white in second place, Tony Casper making up a bit of ground on Castagna. But all eyes are on this man in yellow and black, who defies nerves at 21 years of age. Gained great experience in that World Pairs Final. Very, very nearly pulled off a shot with his partner Lee Adams. But it's good old Speedy Todd that comes out to take the checker flag. It's Wiltshire that wins. Castagna in second place. Tony Casper third. So after heat number 6, Todd Wiltshire gets his second win in this World Final. And surely making 1 or 2 people sit up and listen to him. So the 2-minute warning sounds for all 4 competitors in heat number 7. In red is Richard Knight from England. He goes into gate number 1. In gate number 2 from the USA in blue is Sean Moran. Gate number 3 in white, also from the USA, is Ronnie Corrie. And in gate number 4 from Hungary is Zoltan Adorian in yellow and black. This is heat number 7 of the 1990 World Individual Speedway Final. Pictures as always being brought to you exclusively by Screen Sport. Green lights on and away they drive from the start, and who's going to be the first one to show? It's blue, it's Sean Moran who's there. Sean Moran in first place, but coming under pressure from Richard Knight. Richard Knight in second place, Ronnie Corrie third. Sean Moran it is, still holding on with 1 lap gone. Richard Knight now coming under pressure from Ronnie Corrie in third place. And tailed off is Zoltan Adorian, which, to be fair, is a little bit of surprise. He was very, very good in that pairs final, but not so far come to light at Bradford. But Sean Moran, who had a bit of a duff ride first time out with 1 point in heat number 4, is now setting sail for home with Richard Knight hot in pursuit. Sean Moran, of course, comes into this meeting is Intercontinental Champion, previous meeting winner on 14 points, and really run into a good vein of form for this World Final. And it's Sean Moran in the blue helmet cutter who comes out to take the checker flag. Sean Moran wins. Second place is Richard Knight. Third place is Ronnie Corrie. So a good win for Sean Shuey, as he's known in the British League. Sean Moran, he gets the 3 points. 2 points for Richard Knight, he'll be pleased with that. And 1 point for Ronnie Corrie, who won't be quite so happy. Born on 19th of November 1961, Sean Moran with 2 World Final winners. Yeah. Clear start of Shuey in action. As always, a great ambassador for his sport. Shuey on his back, number 8 on his back in the red helmet.
Who's going to win the 1990 world title, Sean?
I like to say me, but I'm not a predictor. It could be anybody. On the day of gate positions, somebody riding very well. It could be anybody. But I'm going to try my best. I think things are going good now, and I had a good meeting a few weeks ago at Denmark in the Intercontinental, so it's boosted my morale up a lot. But on the day, like I say, I don't predict. It could be anybody.
Well, good indeed, not to predict anybody, but we all know that this particular fellow is quite capable of winning this championship. Sean Shuey Moran from the USA.
If I do not win, or if I lose a race, I mean, I just take it as a loss. You know, I mean, we always can't win. It is nice to, but when you lose, you must think why. But you should not make a big deal, too big of a deal. World Final, maybe, like Dave Jessup, when he could have won. okay, I would be upset too, but not all the time. It is good to win, and nobody can win all the time. You know, you must take it as it comes.
So wise words indeed from Sean Moran as we now go into heat number 8 of the 1990 World Individual Speedway Final. Martin Dugard red in gate 1, Rick Miller blue gate 2, Jimmy Nielsen white gate 3, and Calvin Tatum yellow and black gate number 4. And both Jimmy Nielsen and Calvin Tatum dropping points. Really need to get a win under their belt. And with Rick Miller in there as well, something's got to give as to take tries on heat number 8. Away they drive from the start. My word, Jimmy Nielsen lifts terribly and loses ground, but Rick Miller is in first place at the moment. It's Rick Miller in first place, and then Calvin Tatum drives around the outside of him in yellow-black. Dugard third, Jimmy Nielsen fourth. 1 lap gone, and Tatum's done it from the back. Jimmy Nielsen coming up to put pressure on Martin Dugard, and is now through. Not quite, Dugard comes back on him. The battle is for that position at the moment. Now Nielsen comes back on Dugard. 2 laps gone, but it's Calvin Tatum for England. Overcome the defeat of Henrik Gustafsson in heat number 4. He's got to put that behind him. You've got to now think of the checker flag, Calvin. Yellow and black still, Tatum leads. Blue helmet of Rick Miller is in second place. Jimmy Nielsen now through the third, comfortably through the third. And down the back straight for the final time. It's going to be a good win for England's Calvin Tatum to open his account with 3 points as he gets the checker flag in first place. Second place in blue was Rick Miller. Third place in white was Jimmy Nielsen. So Calvin Tatum gets his first win of the World Final. He moves on to 5 points. Rick Miller gets 2 points. He's on 4. But there we look. It's Per Jonsson at the scoreboard after heat number 8. He's on 6 points. Also on 6 points is Todd Wiltshire from Australia. On 5 points from Sweden, Henrik Gustafsson, and he's doing exceptionally well, is Henke. Also on 5 points from England, Calvin Tatum. Must be pleased with life after that win in heat number 8. 4 points for Hans Nielsen, dropped 2 points in his defeat in heat number 5. And there we see good old Sean Moran on 4 points. Sadly mucked up his first outing, but he's still there fighting, and he'll fight all the way. The old Sonic Communications boy from the USA, Rick Miller, he's also on 4 points, and yeah, he's going to be a spoiler in today's pack. Jimmy Nielsen from Sweden, he's on 3 points, no doubt disappointed at dropping that point in his first out. And good old Richard Knight, doing well in his first World Final on 3 points. Join us for more World Championship Speedway after the break. So welcome back to this vast arena, the Odsel Stadium in Bradford, for the conclusion to the 1990 World Individual Speedway Final. Heat number 9 is next, with Todd Wiltshire on 6 points, unbeaten so far in red gate 1, Calvin Tatum 5 points from England, gate 2 in blue, Hans Nielsen in gate 3 in white, and Richard Knight yellow black in gate 4 as it takes rise, and away they drive, and the first to show is Calvin Tatum in blue. Calvin Tatum in blue, and Hans Nielsen then joining around Todd Wiltshire in white. There, Tatum's got the challenge of Hans Nielsen. Tatum goes out wide, and Nielsen comes through, and also comes Todd Wiltshire and Richard Knight. So my word, the world champion comes through with graceful ease in heat number 9. Comes from the back, does it the hard way, does Hans Nielsen. Todd Wiltshire in second place still. Still in third is Richard Knight. Calvin Tatum, who won the previous heat number 8, is tailed off in 4th position, which is bad news for English Speedway. But with the Danish flags are beginning to fly again. It's 1 more lap to go in heat number 9. It's Hans Nielsen in front. Todd Wiltshire looks like dropping his first point of the World Final. Still in third place is Richard Knight. We're around the final 2 bends. It's going to be Hans Nielsen in white. He takes the checker flag. It's nothing to win. Todd Wiltshire in second place. Richard Knight in third. And Hans Nielsen, my word, what a race win for him. Scantool sponsored, Toyota Kid as he's known in Scandinavia. He gets the 3 points and done the hard work from the back. 2 points for Todd Wiltshire. As we take another look at that particular third and fourth turn. In my word, there was no contact whatsoever at that stage. Nielsen drove underneath Calvin Tatum, who just goes out to the fence, and from that moment onward had lost all contention in heat number 9. So heat number 10 in red, Jimmy Nielsen on 3 points in gate number 1 in the red helmet colour from Sweden. Roman Matusek, blue, Czechoslovakia on 1 point, he goes into gate number 2. Sean Moran in white, he goes to gate number 3. And in yellow-black from Italy is Armando Castagna, gate number 4. This is heat number 10. Start down a long time by the referee, Van der Bowman, but it's straight away into the lead for the rider in white. Sean Moran, Jimmy Nielsen second, Armando Castagna, second, Jimmy Nielsen third. But it's Sean Moran, as Jimmy Nielsen drives underneath Armando Castagna. Sherry looks over his shoulder, sees that Nielsen has come through to second place. Probably realised his challenge was going to come from Jimmy Nielsen if he could make the gate. Sean Moran white, Jimmy Nielsen red, Armando Castagna in yellow and black with 2 laps gone. So Sean Moran coming back to the thick of things after what was a relatively quiet heat number 4 for him. Jimmy Nielsen at this moment in time not making up that much ground on Sean. But that to come yet again from the back is gating, sadly letting down Jimmy Nielsen so far this evening at Oddsall. But down the back straight for the final time. Surely Sean Moran set for a win here in heat number 10. Coming around the final 2 10, then Armando wins. Jimmy Nielsen second place, Armando Castagna in third place. So Sean Moran gets the 3 points. 2 points for Jimmy Nielsen and 1 point for Armando Castagna. And Sean Moran now very back in the thick of things in this world final. Many of the fans were saying it could well be Sean Moran's year, and who could argue with that? Heat number 11, Rick Miller red, Per Jonsson blue, Zoltan Adolian white, and Tony Casper yellow and black, and Rick Miller driving into the tapes. All of a sudden they rise, and it's Miller who drives there. Jonsson, who's so far unbeaten in blue, in second place. In yellow black, Casper also there as well. Casper now in second place over Jonsson. Jonsson drives underneath Casper. That's where the battle is at the moment with 1 lap gone. Jonsson now takes initiative from Casper. Can he mount up any challenge on Rick Miller? Sonic communication boy Rick Miller in the red helmet colour is holding back Per Jonsson, so far unbeaten. 2 laps gone now, Jonsson catching up. Jonsson made up tremendous ground on that last lap. Still it is Rick Miller who leads. Second place Per Jonsson. Tony Casper third. Jonsson takes the outside line, drives down the middle of the track. Now drives up on the outside. Is he going to come back on Rick Miller? It's getting very, very close out there. Into the final lap of heat number 11. Miller, Jonsson in that order as they get to there. It's just Miller who holds on. Jonsson drops his first point of the championship. It's Rick Miller who does it. Rick Miller for the USA gets the 3 points. Per Jonsson in second place.
So everybody can beat everybody, and Speedway's tougher now than it ever was. There's a lot of riders that can do it, so I'm just going to concentrate on myself only. If I can ride good, I'm not going to be worried about anybody else.
So fine words from Rick Miller, and who would doubt his ability, and a good win from him, from Per Jonsson second and Tony Casper in third place. Heat number 12, Henrik Gustafsson red, Martin Dugard blue, Zdeněk Tassar white, and Ronnie Curry in yellow and black. Heat number 12. The way they drive from the start, and the first to show is Zdeněk Tassar in white on the outside, Henrik Gustafsson in red on the inside, but my word of surprise, Tassar is who leads. Ronnie Curry too in yellow and black has come up to put pressure on Henrik Gustafsson. Still it is Tassar who leads, Gustafsson second, Ronnie Curry third, and Martin Dugard fourth. And a bit of a surprise to say the least is Tassar still leads. Along with some we've lost Henrik Gustafsson. Now Gustafsson, was he touched by Ronnie Curry? The race has been stopped by the referee, Mr. Van der Bowman from Holland. Let's take another look. Tassar leads, and all of a sudden it is Curry who takes away the foot of Henrik Gustafsson, who leaves his machine and hits the dirt. And there we see Henrik Gustafsson with his father, not looking too worse to wear. Let's keep our fingers crossed that both he and his machine can continue in his world final. Well, I should say, there's no doubt about him. He's a tough character. They breed them tough in Cumberland, don't they? So the restart of heat number 12 with the exclusion of the rider in yellow and black, Ronnie Curry, presumed to be the cause of the stoppage. So there we see Henrik Gustafsson. All the English promoters are here tonight, hopefully trying to tempt him to come to the Sunbright League in 1991. And already there's been a few signs of what he can achieve on the track. So Gustafsson goes into lane 1 in red from Sweden. Still in lane 2 in blue, Martin Dugard from England. Sponsored by good old Charlie Dugard down there in Sussex. Andy White, Zdeněk Tesar, who was a surprise leader when this race was stopped, popped out of the track in trapping the first stage into the bend. Let's see if he can do it again. James Rise on the restart of heat number 12. Gustafsson, and Tesar is there yet again. Zdeněk Tesar from Czechoslovakia. He's done it. He's reached the pole position again on no points at the moment. 2 tough lap places, but he leads the fight with 1 lap gone. Gustafsson second. Martin Dugard third. They can. The ability of Henrik Gustafsson come from the back. Gustafsson trying the outside line, cutting back on Tesar. 2 laps gone. It's still Tesar the lead. Gustafsson coming up to make a challenge. Henrik Gustafsson. Martin Dugard coming in the reckoning as well. Gustafsson just can't afford to make a mistake. If he goes out wide, Dugard is there. Tesar leads. Gustafsson second. 1 lap to go. Dugard third. Down the back straight for the final time. Tesar leads. Is Gustafsson going to leave it? Gustafsson tries underneath Tesar. It's Tesar in white. Gustafsson in red. As he races the line, it's Gustafsson that gets there. Tesar in second place. Martin Dugard in third. The Onsel Stadium erupts to the sure delight of this 20-year-old from Dublin, Sweden, who leaves it to the last bend to get there. But my word, he's done it. Gustafsson gets the 3 points. 2 to Tesar and 1 to Martin Dugard. Let's just take another look at that breathtaking last 2 bends in heat number 20. Gustafsson driving up the inside of Tesar. At this moment in time, he gets his nose in front. Tesar realises that the challenge is there. He's got nothing left. He's done everything. And at this time, it's Gustafsson who lifts with the proverbial wheelie, and he's in full control of that machine and takes a checker flag and wins heat number 12. Henrik Gustafsson, born on the 14th of August 1970, his world final debut, Jerky Bit sponsored. And who could ever forget the ability that this rider's shown us, especially in this meeting, the Scandinavian final that you saw exclusively here on
Did you
Speedway.
say sorry if you didn't wind up on the upper half?
No, not sorry. I'm happy to be in the world final, but I want to be in the 8 best. So.
Vista, just a stylish rider. Races, of course, for the Indians. Kumla, who are at the moment pushing for their first ever Swedish Elite League Championship. And the style of Henrik Gustafsson makes him the envy of British League promoters. At just 20 years of age, the world is surely defeated the champion. Henke, as he's known in Sweden, and everybody who comes across the North Sea has got nothing but praise for the ability of this Kumla-based rider. 20 years of age, just 2 weeks ago, and the father of baby Simon.
I'll without going into too much detail, just explain a few things about the 500cc Speedway bike. As you can see, it's built up in a very light tube frame. It's got no suspension on the back, only the suspension on the forks, which is used for the lifting at the start, just to absorb the pressure on the forks. This particular bike is a Gotten bike, which is produced and built in England. It's got 500cc and has got 4 valves in the head of it. It produces something like 65 horsepower, brakes horsepower, which is then transferred out through the clutch onto the back wheel, onto a back sprocket, which you can see it's a fixed gearing, which means that the bike has got no gearbox. So that means that when we do release the clutch at the start, all the power is going straight through the clutch out onto the back sprocket. It's so that the back sprockets can be changed between every race as to what situation the track and shale has got. It's a very simple built bike, as you can see. it's nothing like a road bike, or it's got no brakes. It's got only this cutout system, which we've got here, which is done so that if we do have a crash on the track, the engine is cut out straight away by pulling this out of the cutout system here. Here's the throttle, which is joined onto a 34mm carburetor, which injects the fuel, which is a methanol. We've got in the tank here. It's methanol and not petrol. That's flushed in through the carburation into the engine, and that's how we get the power through. And then we go onto the back wheel. As you can see, it's got a wider tire on than the front, and that's because we need to put all the horsepower and power through the back wheel onto the ground. And the tires, especially in the World Championship rounds, is changed at each meeting. After each race, we put on a new edge, as we call it in the sport, and that way we get the maximum grip out of the back tire.
So thanks, Eric, for that introduction to the Speedway machine. On the scoreboard at the interval stage of this 1990 World Final, Per Jonsson on 8 points, Todd Wiltshire on 8 points. So my word, and what he's doing in his debut World Final. On 8 points as well, Henrik Gustafsson, yet another in his debut World Final. This one really is open and up for grabs. Rick Miller on 7 points and going very, very well indeed. John Moran coming back in the thick of things on 7 points, and that includes 2 heat wins. Hans Nielsen on 7 points, and certainly not finished with yet. He's going to fight all the way in the second half of this meeting. Join us after the break for more World Championship Speedway. So the Screen Sport cameras welcome you back to Odsal Stadium in Bradford for heat number 13 of the 1990 World Individual Speedway Championship. Meeting being seen exclusively here with the hotshot cameras of Screen Sport. Heat number 13, Ronnie Corrie red, Jimmy Nielsen blue, Tony Casper white and Hans Nielsen in yellow and black. And away they drive from the start, and the first to show is Jimmy Nielsen in blue, Jimmy Nielsen blue, Hans Nielsen in yellow black in second place, and Ronnie Corrie in third place in red. But it's Jimmy Nielsen, Sweden, holding on to the world champion Hans Nielsen in second place. Jimmy Nielsen is gating, it's let him down so far in this World Final. Certainly had a great start in heat number 13. Hans Nielsen coming under a bit of pressure from Ronnie Corrie in red. Nielsen trying the outside line on Jimmy Nielsen with 2 laps gone. It's Jimmy Nielsen blue, Hans Nielsen yellow. My word, what a race this is! And it's Hans Nielsen trying the inside line. Young Jimmy Nielsen can't afford to make a mistake. He's just going to kick that throttle wide open with 1 more lap to go. Jimmy Nielsen blue, Hans Nielsen yellow, and Ronnie Corrie red down the back straight for the final time. Jimmy Nielsen from Sweden, who can make a mistake on the final turn. This time it's Jimmy Nielsen who wins. Hans Nielsen is second place, and Ronnie Corrie third, and surely now we're going to have a new world champion with Hans Nielsen dropping another point. Jimmy Nielsen plays with life after getting the 3 points, and who can blame him? Hans Nielsen drops yet another, and let's take another look close at that first turn. Jimmy Nielsen, Hans Nielsen coming back on the inside of him, gets awfully close at this stage. Jimmy Nielsen blue, Hans Nielsen in yellow and black, but my word, the youngster from Sweden holds on to get the valuable 3 points, and Hans Nielsen, who drops 1 more, surely now he's out of contention for first place in this World Final. At this stage it's still Jimmy Nielsen holding on, Hans Nielsen trying desperately still to make up ground. Ronnie Corrie perhaps just satisfied with the 1 point, and this is where Jimmy Nielsen, you may recall, lost it in his first outing with Per Jonsson back in heat number 3. He wasn't going to make no mistakes this time. It's Jimmy Nielsen that comes out, he gets there first. Hans Nielsen lifts and drops yet another point in this World Final. So the Swedish contingent very happy with life. Their riders certainly doing very well.
For Stockholm United and Swindon in British League. I've been riding since '82. and I have not won a world final yet.
Well, the action of Jimmy Nielsen, of course, as he says, rides for Stockholm United, and of course the Swindon Robins in the British League. Here we see Jimmy in action, one of the most dedicated riders in the sport. Came into England late in 1985, and one of few people then said he wasn't good enough for a work permit. In fact, the Speedway Control Board said just that, and Jimmy in the past 5 years has proved them all wrong. Fourth in the world in Katowice, Poland in 1986, fourth in the world in Amsterdam in 1987. So it's heat number 14 of the World Individual Speedway Final from Odsal Stadium. Armando Castagna in red in gate number 1. Enko Gustafsson, who is pleasing one of my fellow commentators with his superb racing here at Odsal Stadium. He goes into gate number 2 in the blue helmet colour. In gate 3 in white is Rick Miller, who's also very pleased with life at the moment on 7 points, as you can see. On the outside in yellow and black from England is Richard Knight. So Castagna 3 points, Gustafsson 8, Miller 7 and Knight 4. That's the way they line up before heat number 14. Starting marshal asking Castagna to go just a little bit closer. He's now contending, the green light goes on. And the way they drive from the start, and the first to show is Castagna and Gustafsson. Castagna and Gustafsson in that order, and now also coming through is Richard Knight. Castagna with his nose in front, Gustafsson and Richard Knight, and now coming through is Rick Miller as well. Gustafsson comes back over Rick Miller, but it's all going on behind Armando Castagna, who's setting sail for home, but behind him there's one hell of a battle for minor places. Castagna leads. Still Richard Knight holding on to second place. Gustafsson third, Rick Miller fourth in that order. Castagna really is doing very, very well in heat number 14, and might well be looking back at that 4 heat number 1 with some disappointment with one more lap to go. Now Gustafsson tailing off at the back, and we wonder if he's got problems. Castagna coming around the final 2 turns of heat number 14. Armando Castagna from Italy wins! Second place is Richard Knight. In third place is Rick Miller. So Spaghetti Joe, as he's known, gets the 3 points for heat number 14. 2 points for Richard Knight and 1 point for Rick Miller, and Henrik Gustafsson goes back to the pits a little bit disappointed with life after dropping points in that particular outing. So heat number 15, Calvin Tatum red on 5 points, Zoltan Nadorian in blue, gate 2 on 1 point, Zednik Tassar white on 2 points, gate 3, and Roman Matusek yellow and black, gate number 4 with 1 point. So Calvin, it's time to get amongst the points again in this particular heat, and you won't have any better chance to do it than this one on the inside gate. Number 16 on your back, Calvin Tatum, one of England's great hopes for the World Championship. But perhaps that's disappeared already, but no doubt he wants to get amongst the points in heat 15. He drives into the first turn in pole position, but 2 seconds there with him, and oh my word, gets very close. Tatum holds his cool in the red helmet. He's in first place, but 2 seconds second. With 1 lap gone, it's Calvin Tatum who leads. Zoltan Nadorian back in third place. Sandwiched between him and Tatum is Roman Matusek. So Calvin Tatum certainly get back amongst the points in this one. Roman Matusek, the wild man of shale and ice that you already have seen on the screens here at Screen Sport. Second place behind Calvin Tatum, who takes the flag for 1 more lap in heat number 15. Calvin, of course, races for the Coventry Bees in the Sunbright League, and of course Mariestad in the Swedish League. So it's Calvin Tatum who gets the 3 points as he wins heat 15. Matusek gets 2 for second place, and Zoltan Nadorian gets the solitary point for third place. But Calvin Tatum,
right, Calvin Tatum, come Saturday, 3 English guys, the whole nation is screaming for a world championship. Are you going to do it?
Well, I'm certainly going to be trying 100%. You know, I think it's a good chance for me to win, and I think you know, with it being in England, obviously it would be terrific if I could pull it off.
Yeah. Would you say that the sport in general in England needs an English champion?
I think that's a general opinion. Everybody's talking that way. I think it needs an English world champion to give it a boost, have a bit of a change. So I think I would agree with that.
Yeah. I mean, one of the things that England seems to be lacking is 80cc Speedway. Now, you ride a lot in Sweden, and you see all the young guys coming up. I mean, is there something that England should get around to?
Yeah, sure. You know, if I can win the World Championship and I'm world champion, then I can pull weight and I can maybe discuss this with people. But I think that's why there's been such a lull with English Speedways, that we aren't producing enough young riders. And I think in Scandinavia they have a better system of producing young Speedway riders, and they've got guys coming through the ranks all the time, and I think we must look hard at that.
Tremendous character, tremendous ambassador for the sport. Always prepared to talk to you, always prepared to interview. That's Calvin Tatum. So now we progress to heat number 16 at the 1990 World Speedway Final. And there we see in blue, Hot Toddy, Todd Wiltshire, doing very well at the moment. He goes into gate number 2 in the blue helmet colour. Alongside him in red is Per Jonsson in red. Gate number 1. Gate number 3 in white will be Martin Dugard, and on the outside in yellow and black from the US of A is Sean Moran. So quite a race in prospect with the leaderboard, these three. Per Jonsson in red, Todd Wiltshire in blue, and Sean Moran in yellow and black. And surely something's got to give, as you see there. 2 riders on 8 points, Jonsson in red and Wiltshire in blue. And throw in good old Sean Moran on the outside on 7 points. And we could be in for a real cracker. So the starting marshal getting a little bit anxious as the riders now come into the start. And the bike's rev. He's calling in Sean Moran, he's now happy. The bike's rev. And the tapes rise on heat number 16, and the first one to show is Jonsson in red. Per Jonsson in red, Sean Moran now coming on the outside of him. Sean Moran now comes back on the inside. Moran's got it. Sean Moran has come through. So is Todd Wilson. Per Jonsson comes back on Todd Wilson. My word, we've got a race on our hands. Sean Moran in yellow. And now Jonsson comes back underneath Sean Moran. My word, what a race. Moran comes back on Per Jonsson. And the lead has changed hands 4 times already. 2 laps gone. There's Sean Moran in yellow. Per Jonsson red. Todd Wiltshire blue and Martin Dugard in white. Well, our eyes are on the front 2 is Sean Moran in yellow and black. Per Jonsson in red, who comes up to try and put a bit of challenge on the inside with 1 more lap to go. Sean Moran looks over his shoulder, sees that Per Jonsson's not that far behind him as he comes up the inside on the last 2 turns of heat number 16. Sean Moran on the outside, has he got the speed? It's Sean Moran that gets there. Per Jonsson is in 2nd place. Todd Wiltshire is in 3rd place. My word, what a race. One of the best races you'll ever see in the world of Speedway. The lead changing hands 4 times, and it's Sean Moran who gets the 3 points. Let's take another look as these riders leave the start. At this stage, it's Jonsson who's got it. Todd Wiltshire's with him, but just look at Sean Moran, drifts out wide. Can't do it, then cuts back on the inside. Drives underneath Jonsson, and at this point, he's got his nose in front. But Jonsson's not finished. Drives back on Sean Moran. Todd Wiltshire still in the reckoning at that stage with 1 lap gone. Now Jonsson comes underneath Sean Moran. Now he's back in front. It's Jonsson there again. Sean Moran takes the initiative, does exactly the same he's done on the first lap. Drives underneath Per Jonsson. And at this stage, Sean Moran's through the 1st place and goes on to take the checker flag. As the tapes rise, you can clearly see that Jonsson had a great start as the tapes went up. And Sean Moran was going to go around the outside, and mid-track changes his mind, cuts back. And just thankfully Todd Wiltshire wasn't too close. The bike lifts, but he's made it to hold position. At this stage, Todd Wiltshire comes back on the thick of things. He's now in 2nd place. Jonsson has to come from the back to overtake Todd Wiltshire. And at this stage, drives underneath Sean Moran on the 1st and 2nd turn of lap number 2. He's now in front again. So Sean Moran now lifts, goes underneath Jonsson on the 3rd and 4th turn of lap number 2. And at that stage, he has a little bit of initiative and goes on to win the race. So Jonsson on 10 points after heat number 16. He's now dropped 2 points in this World Championship. So Per Jonsson still in the thick of things. A great rider from Sweden. And Sean Moran now come up to join him also on 10 points. Many people felt that Sean Moran could be a big favourite for the title in 1990 and doing the business so far with 3 heat wins. Todd Wiltshire now dropped 3 points, but he won't be too disappointed, I'm sure, in his debut World Final. He's on 9. Hans Nielsen on 9 points as well, and well, still though for a rostrum place, but one would have to say that perhaps the World Championship is now out of his grasp, and we're out for a new World Champion in 1990. So heat number 17, all the riders now having their final outing of this World Championship. Hans Nielsen's in red, Rick Miller blue, Sean Moran in white, and Zdeněk Tassar in yellow-black. An interesting combination. Can Hans Nielsen beat Sean Moran? Can Rick Miller beat them? Sean Moran really wants to win this one to try and put pressure on Per Jonsson. So watch for red and white as the tapes rise on heat number 17. Away they drive from the start. It is the first to show. It is Sean Moran who chops back on Hans Nielsen. It's Sean Moran in white, Hans Nielsen red, Rick Miller blue. And Rick Miller riding the race of his life. 1 lap gone, Sean Moran looking all over the place, trying to find out where Hans Nielsen's going to come next. So the Toyota Cade, heavily sponsored by Scantool in 1990, is going to relinquish his crown, but not without a fight. He's trying hard to mount up ground on Sean Moran, but it's going to be Sean Moran's race, I've got to feel. So far, got 3 wins after a disappointing first outing, and looks likely now to make it 4 and put pressure on Per Jonsson at the top of the pack with 1 more lap to go in heat number 17. Sean Moran from the Bellevue Aces, and of course America. Down the back straight for the final time. Nielsen tries the outside line, but surely Sherry is going to do it, and Sean Moran wins. Second place is Hans Nielsen. Third place is Rick Miller. So Sean Moran shakes the hands of Hans Nielsen, who's relinquished his crown. He's pleased for Sean Moran, no doubt. So heat number 18, and a very interesting combination here, because Per Jonsson, having watched Sean Moran win heat number 17, knows he's got to win this one to force a run-off for the 1990 World Crown. So Jonsson goes into gate number 1 in red on 10 points, Castagna from Italy in blue with 6 points, Ronnie Curry white from America on 2 points, gate 3, and Calvin Tatum would dearly like to win this one and finish on 11 points. He's on 8 points at the moment. He goes into gate number 4 in yellow black. So all pressure is on Per Jonsson from Sweden. He's been in this position before, not literally in this final, but under pressure to do the business, so he can cope with it. The 24-year-old from Stockholm. As he moves in now, the starting marshal asking him to come a little bit closer. The green light now goes on, and heat number 18 is about to get underway. The bikes rev, and away they drive from the start. And Jonsson it is who gets there. Jonsson makes the start. Castagna still in second place, and Tatum is going to have to come from the back in yellow-black. Tatum's come round Ronnie Curry, but he's got a lot of work to do to try and catch up on Per Jonsson. Per Jonsson in red is the winning leader. Castagna blue second. Tatum yellow third in that order. So Per Jonsson from Sweden, if he can stay out of trouble for 2 more laps, he's going to go into a sudden death run-off for the World Crown, when everything that happened before it is going to go by the wayside. It'll be 2 riders only if he can stay out of trouble. It's Per Jonsson in the red helmet colour with 1 more lap to go. Castagna holding on to second place from Calvin Tatum, and Ronnie Curry tailed off in 4th place. Around the final 2 rounds of heat number 18, it's Per Jonsson that wins. Second place is Armando Castagna, and third place is Calvin Tatum. So it's going to be a sudden death run-off between Per Jonsson and Sean Moran for the world title. Join us after the break. So welcome back to the climax, to the end of the 1990 World Individual Speedway Final. We know we've got a run-off for pole position, but there's still a lot to answer as we go into heat number 19. Zoltan Adorian red, Jimmy Nielsen blue, Henrik Gustafsson white, and Todd Wiltshire in yellow and black was still third place to go up for grabs for these three riders. The starting marshal calls them into the line. Well, the track that's been prepared so excellently by Eric Boothroyd on the BSBA's behalf. He's done a great job. The racing have been such an excellent standard, with heat 16 for me so far being the pick of the bunch. But heat number 19 this is with all eyes on blue, white and yellow and black. Away they drive from the start, and he's going to get in there in first place, and it's Red. Dalton O'Doyle is there, and Todd Wiltshire drives around the inside of him. Speedy Todd's got pole position. From Dalton O'Doyle in second place, and Jimmy Nielsen and Henke Gustafsson are going to have to do the work from the back. But it's Todd Wiltshire, Speedy Todd from Australia, from Bankstown, New South Wales, who's in his debut world final. If he can hold on, will get third place and a roster position, which is a marvellous achievement as Jimmy Nielsen comes through. Hans Dalton O'Doyle for second place. Still Henke Gustafsson back in fourth. But his family's here with him, his girlfriend Linda, his mum and dad and his gran have come over from Australia to hopefully share in his moment. And what a great world final he's having. Todd Wiltshire from Australia. If he can hold on, it's going to be third in the world, and there's Wiltshire to win. Second place is Jimmy Nielsen. Third place on the line for Henrik Gustafsson. But all eyes are on the young 21-year-old from Australia. He celebrates his 23rd birthday in 3 weeks' time. And it's Todd Wiltshire who ends the world final in third position. Let's look as the riders race from the start. My word, Dalton O'Doyle gives Jimmy Nielsen a nudge, which puts him out of the reckoning in the first turn. But Todd Wiltshire drives round O'Doyle, and from that moment onwards really was Todd Wiltshire for third place in the 1990 world final. So heat number 20 of Roman Matusek red, Tony Kasper blue, gates 1 and 2 respectively from Czechoslovakia, and Richard Knight white and Martin Dugard in yellow and black for England in 3 and 4 respectively. So you could say an England versus Czechoslovakia heat, and let's see what it is who gets it at the start of this penultimate race. Just remember, we've got a run-off to go to decide the world champion. Nothing on this race, all about points, but pride at stake for a win. As we say, it is a very tight first turn between blue, Kasper, and it's Martin Dugard who races clear. So Dugard from England, and it's Tony Kasper and Roman Matusek. Matusek there comes Tony Kasper, 1 point doing. Richard Knight back in fourth place, with Martin Dugard in his debut world final. Martin Dugard, 21 years of age, born in Worthing, heavily sponsored by good old Charlie Dugard Engineering Company down there in Sussex. And this will bring a smile to their face if he can hold on and get 3 points in heat number 20. Still it is the rider in red, Roman Matusek, in second place. Richard Knight comes through to third over Tony Kasper. But Martin Dugard surely out of trouble if he can stay from the forward engine problems. He's got 3 points. Martin Dugard to win. Roman Matusek in second place. In third place is Richard Knight. So congratulations to Martin Dugard, who can be well satisfied with his first ever appearance. He ends up on 6 points in his world final, and very pleased with life, no doubt, for Martin Dugard. So now it's all about nerve, concentration, as these two riders, Per Jönsson in red from Sweden and Sean Moran from the USA, go to the line for 4 laps, who will decide the 1990 World Individual Speedway Champion. Everything that's gone on before proceedings this evening can be forgotten. It's history. It's 4 laps who will decide the world. And just listen to the crowd greet these two riders as they come out onto the track. Per Jönsson goes into gate number 1. Sean Moran, who has won the toss, goes into gate number 3. And just what must be going through their minds? They're so close, so near to the world title, and yet so far away. For one rider, in just over a minute's time, it will be glory and the gold medal. For one rider, it will be disappointment and disbelief on a silver medal. It's just as simple as that. They've both tied on 13 points, with Todd Wiltshire in third place on 11. So this is, on 12. So this is sudden death. Sean Moran, who of course races for the Bellevue Aces in the Sunbright League, and Per Jönsson, who races for the Reading 4X Racers in the Sunbright League. And now it's all about countries. Sweden and America is the tapes rise on the runoff. Heat number 21 of this 1990 World Individual Speedway Final is always the captions and the pictures being brought to you exclusively by Screen Sport, whether it's shale or whether it's ice. We will be there, you can guarantee. As the starting marshal asked Johnson to move over. He's asked Johnson to move over into his gate number 1 position. But we'll have to wait and see if that spoils the concentration of Johnson, who now obliges. The atmosphere is absolutely electric. You could hear a pin drop in this stadium. There's a 28,000 wait with bated breath for the tape to rise on heat number 21. And away they go. And it's Johnson who's there in pole position. Perry Johnson from Sweden's there. Sean Moran in second place. This is how it was in heat 16 before Moran came from the back. But it's Johnson now. Coming up with 1 lap gone. Perry Johnson from Sweden. Sean Moran second place. And are we about to witness a Swedish world champion? Perry Johnson, the 24-year-old from Stockholm in Sweden, has the lead over Sean Moran with 2 laps gone. The last world champion from the land of the midnight sun was Anders Mittrak some 16 years ago, and a legend in his own right. And it's Perry Johnson going to write his own history book. 1 lap to go between Perry Johnson and the world title. It's all about praying that machine keeps going. Johnson from Stockholm, there's a further 2 bells into chairs, into flat fly. It's Johnson's title. Johnson lifts the world crown of 1990. Sean Moran is in second place. Perry Johnson shakes his fist with pleasure. Sean Moran, being a true sportsman, as you all know he is, shakes the hand of him. But my word, just look at Johnson. He's punching the air with delight, and who can blame him? His mechanics, good old Patrick and good old Brian, come out and wave and cheer with him, and they share this moment, I'm sure they do too. But his lovely girlfriend Maria and his baby Tommy are in the stadium with him tonight. Let's have another look, kids. The tape's right on the runoff, and it's Perry Johnson who has the drop into the first turn. Sean Moran, from this moment onwards, was always going to chase, but he did that in heat 16, as we remember, with so much determination. But Perry Johnson wasn't going to take things lightly in the runoff. And just look at a happy Swedish contingent, and the only thing they can say is Sweden, that Swedish lager is a lot more expensive than what is here in Bradford. So the rostrum positions, Todd Wiltshire in 3rd place on 12 points. Really delighted with life, he's bound to be. Sean Moran gets a silver medal on 13 points after a runoff. But in pole position, and the winner of the 1990 World Individual Speedway Final, the 24-year-old from Stockholm in Sweden, Perry Johnson, who has done it. He has been in some excellent racing, notably heat 16 when he lost to Sean Moran. But what a classic that was. And heat number 3 when he come from the back over Jimmy Nielsen. But it's Perry Johnson who receives the congratulations from all the competitors here. And look at the delight on his face. It's a dream, a childhood's dream for every competitor. And this young stylish rider has achieved it. He's achieved it, overcoming the field. Congratulations to Perry Johnson on achieving that feat. 13 points to him, 13 points to Sean Moran in 2nd place. Those 2 positions decided after a runoff. Todd Wiltshire 3rd on 12, Hans Nielsen 4th on 11, Jimmy Nielsen 5th, 10, Henrik Gustafsson 6th, 9, Calvin Tatum 7 on 9, and there we see the rest will be also Rans. So all that remains for me to say is on behalf of Screen Sport, and in particular Perry Johnson, who has received the World Individual Speedway Championship at the age of 24 from Stockholm, Sweden. It's the Swedish national anthem that sounds at Odsal Stadium, is where we say congratulations to Perry Johnson, who has won the 1990 World Individual Speedway Championship. Goodbye from Odsal Stadium.